Tonight we dive deep into the complex testimony strategy of Wendi Adelson, who delivered carefully orchestrated statements across 3 separate trials related to her ex-husband's murder. Wendi appears to be performing a psychological double-blind, trying to seem like a reliable witness who's attempting to cover up her own unreliability. But there's a twist. Beneath this act, she subtly shifts the blame toward her own family. Is she manipulating her testimony to mislead the court while planting seeds of doubt about her family's involvement? We unravel her calculated performance, exposing the hidden layers of her carefully constructed narrative. Let's take a look at it together. Hi everybody, it's Chris from Guilty Words, where we unravel crime one word at a time. Tonight we're taking a look at Wendi Adelson's 3 testimonies so far, and not specifically what's different between each one, but the tactics she uses in each that start throwing shade on her own family. It's fascinating to see which questions she answers directly, which ones she doesn't. Before we dive into that, there's a couple of suppositions we need to make about Wendi in order for what I say to make sense. So let's start right there. So there are 3 things I kept in the front of my mind as I watched her testimonies in all 3 trials over and over again. The first is that she's an expert liar. Both Jeff Lacasse and Donna Adelson agree about this, and if your mother thinks you're a good liar, she probably knows best. Now, Donna didn't use the term liar. She said brilliant actress or something to that effect. But if you're a brilliant actress, but it's not on stage and it's not on screen, it means that you're lying. Jeff Lacasse said Wendi even admitted she would lie when she didn't have to. So keeping in mind that she's an expert liar, let's look at the times she's lying and it's obvious. Next is never to forget that Wendi is brilliant. She got full scholarships to college and law school. She knows her stuff. She's cunning and she's ruthless and she's insanely smart. Too smart to make the kind of mistakes that she makes during these testimonies. And also, Wendi was playing the long game. I have a video coming up where I go back to a timeline of when I think Wendi started her whole plan to kill her husband and basically get rid of her family in one brilliant swoop. But I think some things have gone wrong, and one of them is that this has gone a lot longer than she ever planned it to. So what does this cunning, brilliant, long-range planner have in mind? Well, her first goal was to get rid of her husband, not to get blamed, get out of Tallahassee, and keep her kids. Her second goal, I argue, was to get rid of her family, not just Charlie, but Donna and Harvey as well. Then she would be rich and free. She thought she could get some more money from Dan's estate, her parents' assets, and there'd be no one to answer to. As we go through this, we'll see how well that worked out for her. She uses some distinct testimony tactics in every single trial. The first is an innocent affect that she puts on, and it's so deliberate it looks fake. The other is feigned ignorance, pretending not to know things that are so obvious to even a layman. Selective memory. She has this way of forgetting the big things and needing to refresh by looking through these huge binders. But she remembers small details. Juxtaposition. There's a negative, but she tries to suddenly cancel it with a positive, when the question is, why did she bring the negative up to begin with? Careful evasions. There are many, many questions where it's just a yes or no answer. And even someone who's not a lawyer has heard the old adage, in court you just answer yes or no and nothing more. So why then does Wendi refuse to give a direct yes or no? She also has some obvious lies in her testimony that Georgia Kappelman immediately disproves. Why does Wendi bother lying when she knows this game and what George is going to do? What's the point? And that's the big question I want you to think about as we go through this. Why is Wendi making these mistakes, if you will? Because I'm not so sure they're mistakes. I think they may be very carefully planned and calculated. Let me show you what I mean. The innocent affect. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, so let me show you a picture of what I mean here. Do you see any similarities in these pictures? The kind of tilted head, big eyes, parted lips. Me? That's what I mean by innocent affect. Now, it could be argued maybe that's just how Wendi is all the time, but if you look at certain parts of her testimony where it's not Georgia cross-examining her, or you look at her police interview, there's no head tilt, wide-eyed, innocent look. And sometimes this is so exaggerated that it appears fake. If Wendi's an excellent actress, like her mother says, and I think she is, this is almost like someone who's trying to get caught being a bad actress. I know that sounds a little confusing, but stay with me. Also, some bonus points for you. If you recognize this little kitty in the corner, that's actually one of my little guys, and he was the model for our logo. That's Cole. Okay, let's go quickly through a few of her tactics. Otherwise, we're going to be here forever. This feigned ignorance, pretending that she doesn't know something really obvious as if she's not brilliant. For example, at one point she asks Georgia Kappelman where to find the date on a motion. Georgia explains it's on the first page. Never forget Wendi's a lawyer. Even if she wasn't, she filed so many motions for her divorce. And who wouldn't figure to look on the first page of something for the date? So not knowing where to find the date on a motion is ridiculous. Especially in trial 2, she found it just fine. Another feigned ignorance. She was asked in one of the trials how old Dan Markel was when he died, and she actually did math out loud to figure it out. Really? You don't know how old your ex-husband was when he was murdered? Find that hard to believe. Another ridiculous, ignorant moment was in the trial when Georgia Kappelman asked her the name of her parents' dental practice, and she looked at that very confused look and said, Harvey Adelson DDS? Georgia said, could it have been the Adelson Institute? Oh, yeah, come on. You don't know the name? Don't think so. Now, juxtaposition we saw a lot in her police interview. This is where she would say something shady or negative about someone, usually Charlie or a family member, but counterbalance it with an, oh no, that couldn't be it. The two examples I'm bringing up are from the police interview, but Georgia Kappelman brought them up in the trial as well. She asked Wendi to read her statement from the police interview about Charlie making the joke. And then she asked Georgia, she said, well, can I keep reading? And she read the second one about, no, he would never do anything like that. And Georgia said to her, then why did you bring it up at all? Same thing with her parents. My parents had more reason to dislike Dan than anyone else but, and again, she asked Georgia, can I read the rest of that? And she read about they wouldn't say anything bad about him in front of the children, which we also know is a lie because Dan had specific examples of them doing just that and wanted supervised custody for Donna because of it. Now, we're going to combine some of the obvious lies and the evasive answers into one presentation and go trial by trial. So in 2019, the trial for Catherine McManawa and Sigfredo Garcia combined. Georgia asks, and were your parents very involved in trying to facilitate that relocation? It's a yes or no question. And she evades it. My parents were supportive of me moving to South Florida. Not very involved, supportive. Throughout the trials, when it comes to questions about her family or Charlie, that's when Wendi is the most evasive and does sort of the squishiest wording, if you will. She doesn't give a straight yes or no. When it's things like, where did you go to school? How many years were you in Tallahassee? How did you move? There's lots of yes and no's in there. But there's definite evasion around her family. Would you describe your parents as over-involved in your personal business? She stalls. That's compared to other people's parents? Yes. I don't know. Okay. Yes or no? Would you consider your divorce with Mr. Markel to be a nasty divorce? I think most divorces aren't very pleasant. Avoiding the question. Did Charlie Adelson like Dan Markel, and specifically in the time frame before his death? I think he was also, he would listen to me when I would tell him things I was upset about at that time with the divorce, so whether he liked him or didn't like him, he certainly was supportive of me. What does that mean, other than to really make you wonder how Charlie felt about Dan Markel? Yes or no? Did he like him? Well, whether he liked him or didn't like him, he was supportive of me. A few more from 2019. Did he, Dan Markel, threaten to press kidnapping charges against you? I don't remember that, no. So not an outright yes or no. I don't remember that. Did he threaten to go after your law license? Same evasive answer. I don't remember that, no. Did you initiate any type of proceeding at any point to try to contest or fight Dan Markel's sister being appointed as this fiduciary for the life insurance for the boys? I don't believe that I did. And Georgia questions are something along the lines of, really? I don't remember doing that, no. Something that's easily disproved because she did do it. So why this, I don't believe I did, not I didn't. No, I didn't, I don't remember. Vague, easily disprovable. Did your brother have anything to do with killing Dan Markel? I don't believe so. Not no. Why wouldn't she just say no? Keep in mind, she's a lawyer. Even if she wasn't officially a criminal lawyer, she's a lawyer, and she knows the games with words and how this sounds. Katie McBanoa's second trial in 2022, we see the same types of patterns. Was the divorce impacting your family financially? It was impacting me financially, but I don't think it was impacting the rest of my family. A lie easily disproved by Donna's email where she talks about how the practice had dropped off because Harvey was flying up to see Wendi so much and other things. Did your brother refer to it as a celebration? That's the dinner that Wendi was at where she got sick at the table. I highly doubt that. Yes or no? Did he or didn't he? We're not asking if you doubt whether he did or not. I highly doubt that. And do you agree that your ex-husband was murdered between 8 a.m. and noon? And her astonishing reply, I don't know when it happened. What? Who believes that? Obviously, Georgia didn't, and they got down to brass tacks about it. But what a crazy answer. In regards to this defendant, Katie McBanoa, did you talk to her on the phone ever separate from your brother? I have no memory of doing that. I don't think so. Why not just no? Why these jello squishy, wiggly, evasive answers of what should be very simple and direct questions? You talked to her on the phone or you didn't? Continuing Katie McBanoa's trial. Is this a question you need refreshing on? That your husband made these allegations, and this is in regard to his motion to have Donna have supervised custody because she was saying such inappropriate things in front of the kids about him. I don't have an independent recollection. He made a lot of allegations that weren't true, so I need to look through to figure out which ones we're talking about. A little bit later in the trial, she admits that she'd looked through certain things to refresh her memory as far as the motions, and she recalled some details from another motion that were very specific. So she doesn't refresh her memory on this one. She'd been refreshing her memory, but sometimes choosing not to. There's a lot of times when she's looking things up in the binders that Georgia gives her and taking a long time about it while everybody waits, that it seems more like a stall tactic than anything else, as if she's trying to say, this is so unimportant to me, I have no memory, I really have to reread this whole thing. It would be unusual if she did that, and this is referring to if Donna made the appointment to have the TV repaired. Yes or no question? It would not be unusual for her to try to help me, so it isn't out of the realm of possibility, but I remember distinctly setting it up for that morning of, okay, what does that mean? This joke was made right before Professor Markel was murdered. It was made many times. You knew he, Jeffrey Lacasse, was leaving on the same day of the murder at the exact same time as the murder. I don't think I did. Really? In Charlie's trial, there's more of the same, but even more shade is thrown on Charlie. Question she had at a different trial. Did the litigation revolving around your divorce and the subsequent issues that arose, did that impact your family back in South Florida? I mean, only to the extent that I think they felt bad for what I was going through. And then, once again, Georgia pulls out the email from Donna explaining how this was affecting their business back in Florida. At the time of Dan Markel's murder, were your parents angry with Dan Markel? No, they were in a much better place. Georgia pulls out the police interview where she said my parents had more reason to be angry than anybody else. Is it fair to say that your mom was worried about this motion, Dan's motion for supervised custody visits with her? No, my mom never knew about this motion. An incredible whopper to tell, especially when at another trial she hadn't said that. And then Georgia immediately pulls out the fact that she forwarded this motion to 12 different people, including Donna. What about your brother? Did he take an interest in the ins and outs of your divorce? No, not really. Well, what does not really mean? Did he or didn't he? And would your mom sometimes enlist your brother Charlie to convince you to do certain things in your personal life? I can't really think of an example of that. That's like a double evasion. First of all, I can't think of an example. You're not being asked for an example. You're being asked yes or no. But I can't really think of an example. Sounds like, well, actually, I could sort of maybe really think of an example. Why not just yes or no? Georgia pushes further on. Dating Dave was a big one on some of the materials I have. To get her to say, yes, Charlie tried to influence my decisions. Again, avoidance. I really like Dave, and she laughs. But she doesn't answer the question. He, Jeff Lacasse, had a reason to be jealous. I think he had some serious jealousy issues that may or may not have been founded. So maybe he had a reason to be jealous and maybe he didn't. That's a yes or no question. Why avoid answering it? So here's the million-dollar question. Why? Why would a brilliant, ruthless, calculating lawyer make such obvious mistakes, tell such obvious lies that can be kicked out to the curb in a second, give evasive answers that make it look like she's trying to avoid something? Well, think about it this way. Wendi wants Charlie to end up in jail. And I think she wants her parents to end up in jail too. And in making these mistakes, she makes herself unreliable. She makes it so that you do doubt everything she said. You do exactly what we're doing now. You go, wait a minute. He did, or maybe he didn't have reasons to be jealous? Well, she's not answering it, so it means he probably did. Charlie, whether he liked him or not, he was supportive. Well, you appear like a sister who doesn't want to say anything bad about her brother, so you're avoiding the question. That means if you answered it directly, it would be something negative about your brother. Am I making sense here? I think all of this evasion and prevarication is to make it look like she's trying to protect her brother. But if that's the case, then why does he need protecting? And it makes you suspicious of Charlie. Let's go back and look at her original goals. Her first was to get rid of Dan. Did she succeed? She succeeded in having him killed. But she didn't get rid of him simply because of the power of his friends and his family in keeping his memory alive and in not allowing her to paint the picture she wanted of him. I really think that in Wendy's mind, things were going to go a lot faster. She planted those seeds about Charlie. She figured the police would find Catherine McBanoa pretty easily, and then all the dominoes would fall, and within a year or two, Charlie'd be in jail. She would already have had the extra money from her lawsuit against Dan Markel's sister. She could go to Tallahassee. Maybe her mother would be in jail too. And then everything would fade. I don't think she had any idea how long things would take or how famous this trial would become. Get rid of her family. Well, so far, Charlie and Donna are in jail. Harvey is probably a broken man at this point. Get rich and free. I don't know about the rich, maybe. I think an awful lot has gone to lawyers that she never expected to, both for her parents and for Charlie and for herself. So I don't think it's going quite as planned. Is she free? Well, yes, she can live wherever she wants to, but everybody knows her name. Everybody has an opinion about her who watches true crime at all. So she's not exactly free. So what conclusions can we draw from all this? Well, don't forget, she's brilliant, she's a lawyer, she's an excellent liar or actress. So why such a bad acting job? Why such obvious lies? She wanted to appear as if she was clumsily trying to cover for her brother. And by doing that, it would look like there was something to cover for. And she knows this because she is an attorney. She does understand trials. She has lawyers coaching her. Everything she did, from the stalling and taking a long time to look things up, or looking things up that she probably very well remembered, to the evasive answers, to the innocent head tilt and the exaggerated frowns and expressions, was to give the appearance of someone who was playing the role of having nothing to hide. And when people pick up on it and we get that feeling that we've discovered something, we look at, well, what's she hiding? Oh, she's hiding the fact her brother is guilty. Thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate your time. And if you've liked this content and want to see more, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our quickly growing Guilty Words family. And until we meet again in the next video, please use your words wisely and well. Take care.